Morning. So today, let's play a game. Let's say you need some help managing your money. And to this end, you decide to interview a few financial advisors. Okay? And one of them invites you downtown, and you're seated in his office. And he's a good guy. You know, he kind of knows his stuff. Maybe he reminds you a bit of me. I was a financial advisor for 16 years. And you like the guy. And toward the end of his pitch, you know, he's giving you this pitch. He leans in close, and he looks you in the eye, and he's trying to summon up whatever pheromones or whatever he has inside to close the deal. He wants your business. And he says, "It would be a privilege to work with you." What's your gut say? How do you know you can trust somebody with your money? What I know is that trusting your gut is a great way to go broke. Let me tell you about my son's godfather. This guy, he could walk into this auditorium and he would fill it. His friends, we adored him, and there's a good reason for that. He paid. We'd go out to dinner, Broadway tickets. I mean, hanging out with the guy felt like a free vacation. And he could afford to pay because he was in the middle of a really big career. He worked for a white shoe investment bank, and the guy had the Midas touch, and it was only normal that his adoring friends trusted him with their money. So I bet you have a sense that this ends badly. It does. Before Bernie Madoff became a household name, Fortune magazine described my son's godfather as the Hannibal Lecter of Wall Street. Oof, right? And it's not because he ate anybody. He just ripped off his friends. And you know what? I was shattered. I like the guy. But I'm an author, and I have fun. And my first novel, Top Producer, I described a character very much like Hannibal. And I tied him to a stainless steel trolley cart, and I threw this trolley cart into the giant ocean tank in the New England Aquarium, and he sank down, 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 and 500 people looked on, and 3 really hungry sharks devoured him. And it felt great. And I needed to get that out of my system this morning. So we'll go back to the conference room. Okay, you don't trust your gut. Let's say this time you lean in. I need references. And the advisor says, hey, no problem. He gives you three names, and the testimonials are glowing. Well, of course they're glowing. He's no dope. He's going to give you the names of clients who are in the bag for him. It pays to be skeptical about those references. But let's say you don't care about the references. Let's say that brand name is what does it for you. Okay? So there you are in the conference room, and you're there because the advisor works for this global multinational organization, and that's all you need. You know what? Big mistake. Just because somebody works for a good company doesn't mean they wear halo. So I know this guy. I bet everybody in the auditorium has said that at least once, right? This guy looked the part. He worked for one of those companies, sterling reputation. If I said the name of this company, you would know them. He used to wear a watch to the office. He could trade this thing for a BMW. And I'll tell you what the guy was doing. In the morning, he would buy a big block of stock. And if the shares traded down, he'd book the loss to his clients. And if the shares traded up, he'd book the profit to his in-laws. That's dirty pool, right? And the company had no idea, because this fellow was really slick about getting around their controls. And the only way he was uncovered is because his sales assistant suspected what was going on, and she turned him in. You can't rely on the brand name alone. But let's say you're sitting in the audience and you're thinking, well, you know what? The financial regulators will take care of me. Guess again. Let's talk a little bit about the Securities and Exchange Commission, the big daddy of all financial regulators, right? Well, in 2005, there was this money manager named Harry Markopoulos, and he sent this 19-page letter to the SEC. And in it, he said, Bernie Madoff is a fraud. Bernie Madoff is running a Ponzi scheme. Shut him down now. And the SEC didn't do anything until after Madoff confessed 3 years later. I'm not convinced that the government regulators are any better today at catching the bad guys than they were back then. Hey, but don't take it from me. Last year, one of the SEC's commissioners admitted that the organization doesn't have the resources it needs to go out and find the bad guys. He was right. You know, the SEC has a primary responsibility for examining 11,000 different wealth management firms. And the SEC only gets around to checking out those firms once every 10 to 11 years. It's a big problem. And the SEC's commissioner admitted it. He said, there are these repeat offenders, and they give bad financial advice, and they get away with it year after year. Even though there are complaints, they just move from firm to firm, and they stay ahead of the trouble, even though they're ripping people off. He described these repeat offenders as cockroaches. That's his word, not mine. I have this vision of like flipping on the lights and seeing these money managers scatter across the floor. He wasn't trying to be funny. Just think about how many of those cockroaches are slipping between the cracks because the SEC only manages to examine them once every 10 to 11 years. So where are we? Well, gut instinct, brand name, references, financial regulators. Who do we trust? Well, folks, it's really simple. Nobody loves your money more than you, right? You can trust yourself. You can trust yourself to do the homework before you turn a dime over to anybody. And the good news is there are some terrific financial advisors out there. Like there's this guy in Tennessee, and he works with young professional athletes to create life goals after their sports careers are over, because he knows that an injury can end their career at any time. Or there's this guy in Illinois. You know what he does? He works with families who have a loved one in hospice. He writes financial plans for them, and he doesn't charge a dime. He doesn't make a cent. And how about the CEO in Pennsylvania? She's harnessing her firm's resources. She is changing the way we think about teaching kids about money. An entire firm is really going overboard to help their families. You can find these great advisors, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you 3 questions today, and if you answer them, you'll be well on your way. So question number 1, ask yourself, what problem are you trying to solve? You know, it only makes sense that you can't make a decision about somebody else until you know what you want personally. So finish this sentence for me. I need help. I need help investing for my retirement. Or I need help planning for my special needs child who will outlive me. I need help staving off my brother-in-law who's always hitting me up for cash. We all have somebody like that, right? It's all about the focus. So are you ready? Here's question 2. Is that advisor giving you conflicted advice? You better find out fast. Conflicted advice means he or she is putting their interest in front of yours. So the President's Council of Economic Advisors estimates that conflicted advice could cost you as much as 25% of your retirement savings. But you know what? That estimate may be low because David Swenson, who runs Yale's endowment, he says it's 50%. Here's an example of conflicted advice. So earlier this year, I went to one of those investment seminars with a free dinner. Who's been to one of those? I hate to tell you, but the industry calls us plate lickers. So the host that night gave a somewhat compelling presentation. He was selling annuities. And during his remarks, he said, "You don't pay me. I don't charge you fees or commissions. I get paid from the profits of the company." You know what? I hate when guys do that. That's bogus. I checked out Joe Annuity. He gets a 7 to 9% commission every time he sells one of these products. Do you think he was thinking about me? No, he was thinking about those 7 to 9% commissions. That's conflicted advice. Get out of there, run. I mean, Joe Annuity did. Once he finished speaking, he bolted. He didn't stay for dinner. I couldn't believe it. Here's what you do. Go find yourself a fiduciary. A fiduciary is somebody who puts your interests first. And unfortunately, it's really hard to figure out who's who because the regulations are a mess. It's really complicated. But I've made it simple. You go to my website and download the fiduciary oath. It's free, okay? I didn't draft it. It's drafted by the Committee for the Fiduciary Standard. They're working with the Department of Labor. And so you take that form and you go see the advisor and you put it in front of the advisor and say, "Sign this. I want you to pledge to put my interests first." And if the advisor can't do it, then you have your answer, right? Maybe it's time to move on. Now, a promise isn't worth everything, right? People break promises. I don't care. That's where you start. All right, so question number 3. What do you really know about that financial advisor? Let me tell you about this trade group in New England. So this group regularly endorses a financial planner. They say, "Great guy. If you're a member, use them." Well, I checked out this financial planner. He lists 2 certifications after his name. And you know what? He's not entitled to use them. I know because I called up the certifying organizations. And false credentials are the best leading indicator I know of future bad behavior. I bet everybody in the audience today has Yelped a restaurant. And why wouldn't you? $50, $100, You want to spend that money and get a good meal, right? I would. But it amazes me how few investors do background checks on the people to whom they entrust their life savings. I don't get it. Here's an example. Write down the word broker check. It's one word. Only 15% of investors use broker check. And what it is an online record that's free of the employment history of people who work in financial services. Doesn't get everybody, but it gets a lot of people. I mean, you can find me on broker check. I'm not even in the business anymore. I'm there, check me out. So broker check includes employment dings. I mean, did the advisor get fired? Did the advisor break a securities law? Was there a customer complaint? You want to know this stuff, right? I mean, I would. Let me tell you a story about how broker check helped a buddy of mine. A couple of years ago, he said, "Norb, would you help me take a look at an investment?" Sure. He has his neighbor, guy's a Harvard graduate. I thought, check, I like him already. This neighbor was pitching my friend on a deal, and the two men had been friends for 10 years. Kids went to the same school. In addition, there was a retired U.S. ambassador on the deal team who called up my friend and spoke to him for an hour on the phone. But it was a neighbor who encouraged my friend to put 6 figures into this investment. So I found the neighbor on broker check. Took me 10 seconds. And 10 seconds later, I discovered that this neighbor had been kicked out of the securities industry 20 years ago. He forged a colleague's name to get a loan from a bank. We knew what he was made of in that moment. I called up my friend, and he was in a meeting. I thought, oh no. So I called his wife. And couples are funny about their money. You don't know how spouses talk to one another. She said, "Oh, Norb, I'm so glad you called. What do you think?" I said, "No." I was adamant. And I took her to the spot on broker check, and she saw what I saw, and she didn't invest. And I thought that was the end of the story. But it's not. Because 15 months later, I got this email from my buddy, and the subject said, "We owe you huge." And I opened it up, and there was a link to a newspaper article. And the article said that the FBI had arrested the neighbor, that the neighbor had embezzled $750,000 from his church, that the neighbor was running a Ponzi scheme. And you know what? In that moment, I never felt better about any financial advice that I've given to anybody. The neighbor, the Harvard guy, as we speak, he's spending 17 years in jail. You know, I'm really proud of the work that I did as a financial advisor. I really respect the people who get out there every day, the men, the women, who work hard to learn something new every day and do the right thing for families. And I hate the guys like Hannibal who rip off families, all the creeps out there. And I hope that today you'll share what we talked about. Talk to your friends. Share our discussion. Because together, we can put the bad guys out of business. Help me. Thank you.